Good day, friends. If you look at color photographs from the Second World War, especially its early years, you'll notice that all German tanks were painted in gray or dark gray. At the same time, Soviet armored vehicles and other military machines were painted mostly in green. Why such a different choice of camouflage colors, seemingly under the same conditions? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate the video. The warring sides did not choose these colors for their combat vehicles by chance. Tank groups were primarily needed for offensive operations, whether counterattacks or breakthrough assaults. The choice of camouflage could change for several reasons. For example, after the end of winter, tanks were repainted green so they would blend better with the green and brown landscape. The first spotted tank camouflage was designed by Alexander Rodchenko shortly before the outbreak of war in Europe. For various reasons, by the early 1940s it had only been applied to a small number of vehicles. Germany, on the other hand, preferred to use solid colors. A year before the Anschluss of Austria, the Wehrmacht employed brown, dark yellow, and green schemes, but later introduced variations of these colors. On the eve of the war with the Soviet Union, the Reich adopted gray paint for its tanks. This decision was based on the experience of battles in France and Poland. Berlin was preparing to carry out the Blitzkrieg strategy. The idea was that armored vehicles would move very quickly, encountering little resistance. However, German tanks became highly visible to enemy aircraft, so the Wehrmacht decided to disguise them in the color of asphalt roads. In addition, gray camouflage made it easier to hide tanks in the shade of trees or buildings from both observers and aircraft. The beginning of the Second World War unfolded across Europe, with its many cities, roads, and artificial cover, so the gray urban scheme was quite fitting. In February 1943, however, the Germans abandoned gray paint and switched to full camouflage, as the Blitzkrieg had clearly failed, and most of their tanks were concentrated in the open steppes of southern and southwestern USSR. Thank you for watching. If you found this interesting, make sure to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to rate the video.